Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video, we're going to be discussing some somewhat recent developments with respect to the Trump administration, the implementation of so-called policies pursuant to the so-called extreme vetting procedures that Trump promised on the campaign trail to go ahead and implement if he became president, which are in fact being implemented. This video is actually kind of a follow-up to a previous video when we were talking about the within the past few months of the filming of this video, the rather recent so-called travel ban from certain countries abroad to the United States. I got some criticism with respect to that video because a lot of people, we deal mostly with U.S. immigration matters from Southeast Asia, being based in Bangkok, Thailand. Obviously, a large number of our clients with respect to immigration are going to be of Thai nationality. And I kind of got some flack on like social media for, talking about that travel ban in the context of U.S. immigration from Thailand. And it seemed to mostly come about as a result of people sort of thinking I was maybe talking about something that either wasn't relevant or I was trying to sort of shoehorn that issue into discussing U.S. immigration matters from Thailand. My assumptions at the time have been borne out, and what I mean to say by this is, at the time, I sort of had the inclination that that travel ban from Trump and the extreme vetting policies were going to have a broader impact on the overall immigration situation, and that has in truth seemed to be what's happening. For example, this is a Reuters article. It was published March 23rd, 2017, which doesn't seem particularly timely in May or early May of 2017, but I've started seeing things coming through various forums and things for immigration attorneys about how this stuff is sort of playing out more and more. Two paragraphs of note in this Reuters article. The article is entitled "Exclusive U.S. Embassies Ordered to Identify Population Groups for Tougher Visa Screening." One paragraph, the flurry of cables, and they're referring to a number of cables that went out rather quickly from State Department headquarters in the United States out to the various posts around the world. Flurry of cables to U.S. missions abroad issued strict guidelines for vetting U.S. visa applicants, and then retracted some of them in response to U.S. court rulings that challenged central tenets of Trump's executive order. So that was a few months back. We all heard about that in the news. Essentially, there was an executive order by Trump. Then there were certain administrative procedures and policies that were issued and rules that were issued sort of in connection with that, and then certain of those were retracted. But this is the more interesting thing to note. The final cable seen by Reuters, issued on March 17th, leaves in place an instruction to consular chiefs in each diplomatic mission or post to convene working groups of law enforcement and intelligence officials to develop a quote-unquote, to develop a list of criteria identifying sets of post-applicant populations warranting increased scrutiny. Increased scrutiny. What they're basically saying, it appears to me, is scrutiny is going to increase. That's a fact. That seems to me like that inference can be rather easily made. Secondly, it looks like that each post, and it looks to me from reading this stuff that this is not necessarily going to be exclusive to any one region. Again, this travel ban and some of these policies seem to be directed towards certain Middle Eastern countries. However, in the grand scheme of things, that's not really the way that government regulation works in practice. It's a lot easier to do things in a broad way in certain instances than it is to just pick and choose how things are going to be implemented. So it seems fairly clear to me that while scrutiny in general is going to be increased, I think that there's no way anyone can deny that fact. It also looks like that certain State Department officials are going to be, for lack of a better word, essentially coming up with certain population groups that are felt to warrant a higher level of scrutiny. Now, I would assume that those population groups are going to be determined on a situation by situation basis at each of the embassies and consulates abroad. So what would be considered a population group of intense interest in one embassy, say in Venezuela, might be, there might be a totally different paradigm at the U.S. Embassy, say in Singapore, okay? But what appears to be clear from not just this article, but just other things I've been reading generally on this topic, is scrutiny and enforcement of certain rules pertaining to consular processing and how Department of State issues visas after scrutiny and after they do their due diligence. Certain things like this are going to be changed. And I think, for lack of a better term, I think that just the overall process is probably going to get more time-consuming, if not more difficult. And by difficult, I don't mean to say that they're going to go out of their way to make it unnecessarily difficult. It just seems to me that certain procedures are going to be added, and anytime procedures are added to a process like this, again, it's going to take more time to move through those procedures, and it might prove documentary intensive, for example, to go ahead and deal with those due diligence aspects. So the thing to take away from perhaps this video is the notion that it appears to be a sea change with respect to U.S. immigration matters, and I think in the future it's going to be a safe bet that more scrutiny is going to be associated with consular processing, not less.